Factors are like fractions. They're small, smaller than the number itself. And if we are going to identify the factors of a number, it's best to work at them in pairs. We're looking for the pairs of numbers that would multiply together to make that number. Here I'm going to work through the factors of 24. Now, to start with, every single number has a factor of 1, and we term this as itself. So 1 times 24 makes 24. I'm going to work through logically now. This is an even number, so 2 must be a factor. 2 times 12 makes 24. 3 is also a factor. What do I multiply 3 by to make 24? That's 8. 4 is also a factor, and I multiply 4 by 6 to make 24. Now I've gone from 1, 2, 3, 4. I know 5 isn't a factor because this number would have to end in 0 or 5 if it was. Now I start coming back on the factors I've already identified. So I know that in fact I've got all of them. There are 8 factors of 24 in total. When I think about multiples, I think about multiplying. I'm thinking of numbers that are bigger than the original start number, and they are the numbers that are in their times table. A multiple of a number could go on forever. So when we're asked for multiples, they probably will ask you for a defined amount, say the first 6 multiples. So here we are for the first 6 multiples of 24. If it's a big number like 24, what we're thinking of is adding on 24 each time. So the second multiple of 24 is 48. Add on another 24, you'll get to 72. Another 24 is 96, and so on. So there we have the first 6 multiples of 24. When we identify prime numbers, we're looking for numbers that only have 2 factors, and they will be the numbers 1 and itself. Because with a prime number, the only numbers that they can be divided by are 1 and itself. If you can't remember that rule, it's probably best to try and memorise at least the first 10 prime numbers. They start with 2. 2 is the only even prime number, because after that all even numbers will be divisible by 2. Therefore they will have 2 as a factor. Continuing with the first 10 prime numbers, we have 3. After 2, all prime numbers are going to be odd, but that doesn't mean to say all odd numbers are prime numbers. 5 is, and 7 is, but 9 isn't. 9 isn't a prime number because it can be divided by 3. 3 times 3 makes 9. So the next prime number after 7 is 11. Then 13, not 15, because 15 is in the 3 times table and the 5 times table. 17, 19, 23, and 29. There are the first 10 prime numbers. A square number is the product of multiplying a number by itself. For example, 1 times by 1 gives you the answer 1. 1 is a square number. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 is a square number also. 5 times 5 gives you 25. That's a square number. But you can multiply any number by itself to achieve a square number. For example, 13 times 13 gives you 169. 169 is a squared number. You could go up as high as you like. 16 times 16 is 256, also a square number. I can write these sums in a different way. 1 times 1 is also 1 squared. 3 times 3 is 3 squared, and so on. It's useful for you to be able to memorise the square numbers up to 15 squared. After that, you can square any number on a calculator using the square button, which is here. You type in the number first, for example 23, squared, and that's what comes up on your calculator display. Press the equals button and your answer will appear. 23 squared is 529. The opposite function of squaring is to square root. Our square root symbol looks like that. The number that we wish to square root appears inside our symbol. If we have a square number, then the square root is going to be a whole number. The square root of 25, for example, is 5. The square root of 81 is 9. And the square root of 225 is 15. If we don't have a square number, we can find a square root of any other number using a calculator and using the square root button, which is here. If, for example, we wanted to find the square root of 72, we'd first press the square root button and the square root symbol would appear on our calculator display. Type in the number, followed by the equals. Now if this comes up, we're going to press our S to D button and that will give us the answer as a decimal. I would round this to 3 significant figures, being 8.49. The square root of 72 is 8.49 to 3 significant figures.